Dauntless is like a baby version of Monster Hunter and is essentially a free entry-level game and the perfect way for you to figure out if these games are your hypothetical cup of tea. When I said this game is a baby version of Monster Hunter, I'm not implying to you that it's Monster Hunter but for babies. Instead, I'm referring to the fact that the game has been in its full release for just over 1 year now, making it still pretty young, but yet in that time it has still done really well for itself. Dauntless has content drop with some regularity and seasonal items that make you look distinct enough compared to the other muffins waltzing around in this game. The game may be very similar to Monster Hunter, but it isn't trying too hard to become it. It's fine with doing its own thing and taking itself a little bit less seriously. The best way I can describe it is being the Fortnite to Monster Hunter's Battleground. It's cartoony and fun with its own set of rules and it's meant to be played differently, whereas Monster Hunter has more grounded in realism and is more cinematic feel with a more curated storyline, deeper narrative, progression systems in the form of more complicated and wider range of craftables, armor and weapons. One of the truly beautiful things about this game is the feeling of progression. You'll never be truly invincible or be able to defeat a behemoth in a single swipe, but just by playing the game and experimenting with weapons and cores, which are the game's versions of mods, you'll notice yourself downing less and getting more experience than just that of the in-game XP. Realistically, you will fight the same behemoths multiple times in a row, and each time you face them you will understand more and more about them. You notice the cracks in their defenses, weaknesses, breakable parts, and you know the move the behemoth will make probably before they do. And all the while, with every part broken and every beast you slay, you gain more and more powerful gear that will help you to progress to the next stage of the game. The weapons in this game are all very much intended for close range combat, which most people can guess as all but one of them are melee based apart from the guns, the literal pistols, which have horrendous damage fall off but still have close range functionality, are intended to be used in face to snout situations. All the weapons feel different enough to make me want to play with all of them and learn the most optimal way to use them in and out of combat. That is whether I feel like being more agile to dodge more effectively or dealing more damage at the cost of being more vulnerable. There is a weapon to suit my needs and the way I feel like playing at the current moment. The combat in this game is nothing new for the genre. You dodge out of the way of behemoth's attacks and strike them back to deal damage in return. You have a finite amount of health resources in the form of a pool of glowing piss that can heal you and the beast, although they rarely do heal themselves. I think they might be stupid, and 5 personal healing flasks, as well as 3 stims that can be used to revive yourself if your teammate can't get to you in time or you reach 100% on the danger meter. Oh yeah, that percentage at the top of the right corner is the danger meter, and when it's at 100% you can no longer revive yourself and other people can't revive you either. So if you don't have a stim, that means the hunt is basically over if everyone downs. The meter goes up based on player downs and the longer the hunt goes on, so if you and your team are on top of things, you don't have nothing to worry about, but if you're a bunch of imbeciles, you're probably going to find it a bit hard to deal with. Behemoths after spawning into the hunt location will stay put until you reach them and start the fight, but after reaching around half of their health pool they may attempt to flee to a different area of the map. Behemoths like Shrike are incredibly easy to track down and you can usually see exactly where they go, as it is generally really hard to miss the giant fucking owl that just careened away from you at a moderate speed. Why the fuck didn't you shoot him down? Anyway, generally most behemoths won't stray too far from you and always head in a straight line to where they exit the arena from, and they'll usually be on the circumference of your current arena, so when an ember main phases out of your existence, you should be able to find them pretty easily. And here's a little trick for when you're fighting Valimir. I don't think he really thought his arena through, because most times when you fight him, it is during the night. So, because he can teleport, I don't think he realized that a giant fucking beam of light that leads to the heavens and back was the best mode of transportation while you're trying to escape a murderer who's following you with a fucking axe. Yeah, don't really seem that smart to me, but oh well, maybe I'm the stupid one, I don't fucking know. Behemoths can be in one of 3 states during combat: normal, enraged, or aether charged. Normal, as you can probably guess, is a default form for most behemoths, while rage mode is triggered after they receive a certain amount of damage during combat. Aether charged behemoths, on the other hand, they vary wildly, and it varies between behemoths and it's just whenever the fuck they feel like it really, such as Riftstalker beginning the fight by becoming aether charged by jumping through his portal. Aether charged behemoths also tend to use much more of the elemental attacks than their non-elementally charged counterparts. For example, Ember Main gains an Ember Main, which is quite funny I think and humorous, and they use a lot more ranged fire attacks than just running at you and swiping. Raged behemoths also like to use a lot of physical attacks, resorting to just running at you and smacking instead of using elemental attacks if they were already able to. Dodging also grants you the ability to phase through behemoths and their attacks momentarily, so instead of always dodging away, like you probably should to be honest, sometimes it's best to dodge through an attack. Behemoth health also scales with the amount of players in your hunt. If it's only you, they will have 100% health, but they gain 66% more health for each player. That maxes out at 300% health for a full stack of 4-player shindig. So if you're having trouble, instead of joining public matches or asking to be carried, try doing it yourself if you aren't totally hopeless. The designs for all the behemoths, besides for being unique and pretty, are also very logical when you know what they are capable of, or even when trying to gain some insight to what the fight will be like if you haven't fought them already. Just by looking at a behemoth, you can usually roughly tell the speed of the creature and what type of attacks we're likely to have. Like how the Embermane and the Stormclaw are both very similar in looks, but also in the fact that they both are fast and nimble with large horns and whip-like tails. This makes sense, as both creatures have a tendency to charge players, opening themselves to being stunned, and using their horns and tails to smack players around. With all this being said, what do I really think about this game? Do I think it's worth playing over Monster Hunter World? Well, the short answer is, kind of. If you want the long answer, come with me for a second. Look, if you've played Monster Hunter World before, I'm not going to lie to you, you'll most likely find this game either too easy, too childish, or too basic. But if you haven't played Monster Hunter and you want to see if the game would be right for you, or if you have played Monster Hunter, you're just looking for some new little grind that isn't as investing, then go ahead and give it a go. It may not be as varied as Monster Hunter, but if you're looking to burn a few hours, find a decent enough new grind, or just have a fun time with your friends with a game that everyone can download, yeah, I think this could be a good game for you. And now, for your viewing pleasure, here's a bunch of clips of me yelling at trucks and start the fight. But after reaching around fuck off! Biking cunts! Aether Charged also allows behemoths to use more of their element, such as Embermane using... I will shank your fucking dog and put it through a fucking glue machine! I swear to God, I'm gonna get through one fucking line and there will be a fucking truck every time I'm doing good. Amount of damage. Aether Charged behemoths on the other hand, well, they just do it whenever the fuck they feel like it and varies between all of them. Riftstalker on the other hand likes to be particularly a cunt and start off the fight by jumping through a portal and Aether Charging itself. I hate him almost as much as I hate these fucking trucks. I'm not even going to bother. More physical attacks and a lot more pummeling, so be on the lookout. I'm not even angry at this point, I'm just disappointed. Your mother and I are so sad with you. Why did you become a truck driver?